Energy ministers and officials from the BRICS bloc have been meeting recently to discuss energy poverty and lowering emissions, among other energy-related challenges. The meeting, chaired by South Africa's Energy Minister Gwede Mantashe, discussed the improvement of access to secure and affordable energy while transitioning to cleaner systems. Mineral Resources and Energy Department spokesperson Makhosonke Buthelezi joins us for more on this. A very good evening to you, Mr. Buthelezi. Thank you so much for your time. So, affordable, reliable, sustainable, all buzzwords coming out of this meeting that was held by the energy ministers. What does that mean in the South African context?
So, thank you very much. This simply means that as we want to transition into cleaner energy, one, we have to look that as we do that, it doesn't become way too expensive for the people who rely on this energy. As we all know at the moment, if you're talking about renewables, not everybody can afford your solar panels that you put on the roof, and not everybody can afford the converters, and not everybody can afford the batteries. So it's basically to make sure that as we transit, some of the people are not, left behind, and they still have access. We still are able to achieve universal access to electricity.
What does it mean then for the goal to move away from fossil fuels, i.e. coal? Because it's been clear in South Africa, for example, with the extension of the lifespan of some of the power stations, that coal is going to remain part of our energy mix. Have the BRICS nations agreed on a period upon which they would phase out coal? Or will it be in the mix, in fact, for much longer, let's say beyond even 2030, for example?
There wasn't a discussion around a period to phase out coal. But what was interesting is that some of the countries of the BRIC countries, they are not accelerating as some of the countries that are giving us money would wish for, because we have a target of 2030 to have phased out coal-powered power stations. Some of them, they have quite extended targets. But be that as it may, it was agreed that climate change is a reality for all the BRICS countries. Therefore, we should share knowledge in terms of how do we cooperate on cleaner technology. Those that have already done this work, we should cooperate and share knowledge amongst ourselves. And most importantly, we should do that in the interest of our countries as BRICS. We should not rush this because we are at the various stages of development as developing countries. So as we do this, we should do it responsibly. But yes, we should move to cleaner technologies so that we are able to curb the climate change.
But there's no way, at least in the South African context, that the objectives of energy generation and making sure there's enough capacity can be achieved without coal still in the mix beyond 2030. Am I right? Is phasing it out within the next 7 years feasible at all?
Yeah, that is why there is always talk that instead of rapid phasing it out, we need at how we can capture, look at technology that captures carbon emissions, because the reality is that 80% base load is contained in coal, and it's much more reliable than other renewable energies. So that is why we have to do so responsibly, and most importantly, make sure that it is just in a sense that it takes care of everybody. Nobody is really left behind. People don't lose their jobs. As you know, the rest of Mpumalanga relies on coal mines. The economy there is built on coal mines. So we need to be very responsible as we look at phasing out the use of coal as one of our reliable sources of energy.
So what then are the BRICS partners going to do? I heard you talk earlier about information sharing, for example, on the issue of climate change, its effects, especially when you consider how much goes into the generation of electricity? We were just talking about coal. Information sharing is great, but what are Brazil, Russia, India, and China actually able to do in a real measurable way to assist South Africa deal with what is essentially, or has been, an electricity crisis for the past decade and a half?
Yeah, look, what they're going to do is, as I've already indicated, they'll assist us in terms of research and technological cooperation, and making sure that they assist us because they are critical minerals that have been identified as very important for transition into cleaner energies. So they are going to assist us in terms of making sure that those critical minerals are not exported as raw materials, but we are able to beneficiate them here from South Africa. We are able to use them for our own transition. So they'll be assisting us because they have advanced technology when it comes to those areas. So they'll
but when
be
does the help
assisting us.
arrive? When can we expect the work to really begin?
There are no set deadlines at the moment because, as you know, these things, they take long to be implemented. So they just, at this moment, they were just commitments in terms of the areas of cooperation. And once that is done, then there'll be the real work. Once product agreements have been reached, there'll be then the real work of setting targets as to, at an official and departmental level, as to what is happening when.
Let me ask you then on the issue of the urgent electricity crisis in this country, and you mentioned things that take long. One of the things that Eskom is still waiting on that seems to be taking long is approval for it to be able to purchase diesel directly. It burns billions of rands worth of diesel every month, because when we are in this crunch, that is the go-to, if you will, emergency measure in order to be able to keep the lights on to some degree. Yet that has not been approved at the moment, as I understand it. They still have to go through Petro SA in order to get access to diesel, which is expensive, and if they bought it directly, for example, from suppliers abroad, they'd be able to do so at a lower rate. Am I right? Why has that approval not come through yet?
Well, as far as I know that the Petro SA has committed to making diesel available to Eskom, and with the understanding that it is very critical to keep the lights on, and that has been the arrangement, and that is the commitment that Petro SA has put in place, and they've even committed to make sure that diesel is always available for Eskom as and when they need it.
I know that it was in February when Eskom denied that it was overcharging Eskom for diesel. But does that denial and what you're telling us now as far as a commitment from Petro SA then automatically do away with Eskom's desire, its intent to be able to purchase directly from elsewhere? If they feel they can get a better price, why not allow them to do that?
I'm not very familiar with anyone denying anything in terms of that. But
no, what I mean by that is, in principle, would you agree that, in all fairness, if they can get it cheaper than what they get from Petro SA, it would make sense, considering how much money they're burning on diesel monthly?
Well, everybody has to buy. Petro SA is a government agency that is responsible for bringing in diesel and petrol or petroleum products from abroad. There isn't anyone that I'm aware of that they can buy, without the involvement of Petro SA, particularly if it's a state agency. So for now, Petro SA is doing that, and Eskom and Petro SA has made a commitment that they will make the diesel available to Eskom. So for now, that is the way that that's the route that they should go in terms of procuring diesel from Petro SA and making sure that it is available to keep the lights on.
Is the application for Eskom to procure directly from other suppliers, is that still on the table?
I wouldn't know if Eskom has done that because as Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, we are not really responsible for Eskom's affairs. So I wouldn't really know when it comes to those details. How far is their application in terms of asking to be exempted from importing directly from the source?
Thank you very much for your time, sir.